Today, Amelia Earhart's disappearance still appears to be a question waiting for an answer. However, I am here to actually test against that. Today, I will be telling you why you should believe that Amelia Earhart truly drowned in the Pacific Ocean while flying over it. This is very important in the history of planes and development of planes. I have done substantial research on the disappearance of Amelia Earhart in the Pacific Ocean, and I am very passionate about disappearance and mysteries and do research on them in general. First, I will discuss why Amelia Earhart's disappearance is so crazy and why there are so many theories. Second, I will discuss the theory that Amelia Earhart drowned in the Pacific Ocean. Third, I will continue to explain this theory and why it is most plausible. First, I will discuss the crazy spectrum of theories and why, and about Amelia's disappearance. There are tons of possibilities for the reasoning of her disappearance. There are pictures detected to be Amelia at a Japanese island, creating theories that she was a spy and/or safely landed. One of the most popular websites for daily news claims that a photo was discovered in the National Archives that depicts a woman who resembles Earhart sitting on a dock in the Marshall Islands near a man who resembles her navigator, Nanoon. There are also theories that she was a castaway on an island, safely landing on the island she wasn't supposed to land on and not being able to communicate that she landed. And the most reasonable theory, which I will further discuss, is the sinking of the Pacific Ocean. To continue, there is little to no evidence about her disappearance, which is why this theory would make the most sense. Researchers have come to the conclusion that since they could not find the island that they were supposed to land on, they went off track, that they ran out of fuel in the Pacific. On the same news website, Reiser claims that Earhart and Nanoon put in a number of calls to the U.S. Coast Guard ship Ithaca, communicating that they were low on fuel and having trouble finding the Holland Island. Now that I've discussed her theories and why there's so many, I'll discuss the theory of Earhart drowning in the Pacific. We know that Amelia could not find the island she was destined to travel to, and her travel path went slightly off track. Crash and sink theorists have done extensive research to conclude that this is how she drowned. In her July 2, 2012 column in History, Haynes mentions how many experts believe Amelia Earhart and her navigator friend Nanoon got slightly off course en route to a refueling stop at the Holland Island in the Pacific Ocean. Amelia communicated that she was low on fuel flying above the Pacific. On another popular website, the Premium Network has last updated on July 11, 2017, that the last communication received from Earhart was that they were running out of fuel. This radio communication was indeed Amelia's final message before the disappearance. After this, Earhart and Nanoon could not be traced. Despite the $4 million search, no remains were ever found. This is because she obviously would have sank, and the ocean is incredibly large to search for remains. There have been findings of bones, however none of them traced to be Amelia or Nanoon. And finally, I will continue to discuss why this theory is most plausible. The theory of Earhart drowning makes most sense as researchers could obviously not find any remains, and Amelia was above an ocean when she last communicated. Government has finalized that this is the most reasonable theory. In her July 19, 2019 column in USA Today, Aspergen quotes that the theory, also endorsed by the U.S. government, is that Earhart navigator friend Nanoon crashed into the Pacific Ocean while attempting to reach Holland Island, approximately 946 miles from Marshall Islands. This was the last communication over the ocean. Since there is no clear evidence, this is the simplest of theories and most obvious. To conclude, first I briefly went over the theories of Amelia Earhart's disappearance and why they are so crazy. Second, I discussed the theory of Earhart and Nanoon drowning in the Pacific Ocean. And finally, I discussed why the Pacific Ocean theory makes the most sense and is most likely true. In conclusion, we can most likely assume that Amelia Earhart and friend Nanoon drowned in the Pacific Ocean as they ran out of fuel. I will now be introducing Mary Chris as she concludes the two theories of Amelia Earhart's disappearance.